Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I want to start a multi-part series on how to set up a NAS on your home network. So there's tons of information out there on like how to set one up, what's the best way to do it, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes the videos are too long or too short, or you can't really find the little piece of information that you're wanting. And this is why I want to break this down into a multi-part series so that way we can, one, learn how to set it up, set up our drives. Two, maybe we need RAM for certain occasions. Do we need RAM? How much RAM do we need? SSD caching, is that something that we need as well? Particularly for this video only, I just want to unbox it, install the drives, and just get the NAS registered on the network so that way we can see our drives and really just get our storage set up, and then move on from there into the future videos on specific requests, like if we want to upgrade our RAM, how much RAM is it necessary for your use case, things like that, and so forth and so on. So with that being said, let's hop in and go ahead and get this thing unboxed and installed. All right, guys, so we've installed our drives. So installing was actually fairly simple. You just pull the doors up, pull the trays out, and if they're locked and don't want to budge, don't force it. There's actually a set of keys that they include for you to actually unlock it and lock it. So simply just use the keys and unlock it, and they'll be able to pull them up and pull them out. Now, on the side of the trays, there are two tabs that say pull. It's basically just where you can lock in the drives easier for whenever you actually install them. So make sure you pull those out before you push them in, before you might end up breaking something. Now, simply put the trays back in, lock it up, and plug in your NAS. Also, make sure you plug in it on the network via your router via an Ethernet connection. I put it in LAN 1 port because to me that just makes the most sense, because there is no Wi-Fi. There is no Wi-Fi option. So yeah, now after that, we can start installing the assistant and getting our NAS set up. So simply, while it boots up, you need to go ahead and install the Synology Web Assistant. So go onto Google, and we're going to simply type in Synology Download Center, and once we come to this page, we're going to select the type product, which is our NAS, of course, and then type in our model number. Now, you'll scroll down and you want to make sure you click on the tab that says Desktop Utilities. Took me a minute to find it myself, or like to notice that that's what I was supposed to click on, and then select one for your OS. In my case, it was macOS. Now, once you install it, it's going to open up a little box and it's going to start looking for your NAS on your network. Don't worry if it doesn't find it instantly. It might just take some extra time to boot up. Make sure, it's trying to find it on your network, and it might not be booted up correctly, right? So once it pops up and finds it, you just double click on it and it's going to pop up a web page at the IP address that it set it to. And it's just going to let you start installing it and begin setting it up, right? I did the recommended settings for everything. I erased both drives because I want my drives to be fresh and have, I think that's what it has to do anyways. So make sure you're putting in clean drives or fresh drives. And it says it's going to take 10 minutes for the setup process to really go through and get set up. But for me, it really only took like 2.5 minutes. I mean, your mileage may vary, but for me, 2.5 minutes is all it took. Next, you'll set up a name and password. I named my NASinator for a Terminator reference, and then you're going to set up a Synology account. I don't think you have to. I just went ahead and did it. It was pretty simple and seamless. And use your Google account, Apple account. You want to set up a Quick Connect ID. Now, this is a unique ID for you to log into your NAS from anywhere, as long as you have an internet connection, and you might have to play around and find something unique for you. And that's, obviously what I had to do as well. Now, I skipped all the useful tips and useful programs for now, except for the email, as that's the only thing I check currently, like pretty often. And if something were to happen, I do want to be able to see that email pop up. Now, it's going to, once you log in and everything, it's going to ask you to start setting up your storage pool, and that's what we're going to do. So I configured mine with RAID 1 as it mirrors both drives, and essentially you can lose one drive and still have all your data on it. Yes, you do lose basically a drive in terms of total capacity, but to me, that having all of my footage and making sure nothing fails is the biggest thing to me. So if there's something else that you would like, if you want all of your space, make sure you go through and select the option that is best for your use case. I did a drive check just because I got these refurbished just to, obviously save money. Wanted to make sure my drives are healthy. It's always good to make sure you do that, because if one comes out unhealthy and it was a fresh drive, you can obviously return it with warranty, get your fresh drive, right? So always do a drive check, especially you know, it's first boot, you're not got anything set up, so go ahead and do that. And you know, save you some heartache in the future. Now, it's going to ask you to select the drive size. I just did max allocation because I've already lost technically a whole drive and a little more. So I just did the max and hit next. And then for the file system, I did BT RFS. It's like binary tree reference file system or something of that nature. But essentially it just has more features than ext4, like snapshots and things. And as I get more involved and want to, you know, add more features to my NAS, I want to have the ability to do that, right? And that's really the only reason I went for that. I'll leave a, I guess a document down below that really just describes the difference between the two, and so that way you're able to make a choice for yourself as well. Now, I did not encrypt my volumes either. I don't plan on putting anything too personal. It's literally just going to host mainly my footage, right? Keep myself and my workflow clean as possible. With that, I didn't really think I needed to encrypt it, and it also slows down your performance, so you're already kind of limited with hard drives as is. So, you know, take that into consideration. It's going to take a little bit of time to set up. You're done. That's all you needed to do. The next thing is setting up our shared folders. Now, this is pretty simple because we want to set up a shared folder so that way we can connect and see these folders from our other devices. And you're just going to simply open up File Station, and you're already going to notice that I have some folders here because I was playing around with it while I was getting this thing set up. But really, you just have this drop down right here, and you just want to hit, let me click this and hit Create Shared Folder. And after we get the shared folder, let's just name it. Let's just name it Test because I'm going to delete it. But obviously you see I have archived and current project videos. I have test. I don't need a description. And then looks like you're good to go. Hit next. I did enable a recycle bin in case I delete something and have to, you know, want it back. But yeah, so next. And then I did skip for this. You can obviously protect it, you know, by encrypting it. There's something, obviously it's something personal, but you know, adjust it for your use case. And then I didn't do anything with this advanced setting. You know, obviously do a little more research if this is something that you need. But to me personally, like I said, I don't plan on having anything personal or private on it. So I don't need the advanced settings for this. So hit next. It shows us everything, and hit next. Now you can obviously have users, but you know, I'm obviously just giving admin and Jarvis full access, and now we have our test folder. Now you're like, well, how do I connect to it and see it from another device? To set it up on our Mac, we want to go up here to the top. Well, let's open up Finder, go to Go, and we're going to hit Connect to Server. Now we're going to type in the IP address of our NAS, which you can find on the previous screen at the top. You don't need the port or the port that it's hosted on. You just need the IP. So you just do SMB : // and then 192.168 or whatever the IP address is, right? And just hit connect. And then it's probably going to ask you your username and login, literally just the login that you set up whenever you first set up your NAS. That's what you use. But I'm just going to show, I want to just mount test, hit OK, and it's there. Go ahead and head over to Windows if you have a Windows device, just so I can help you with that as well. So let's go ahead and open up our File Explorer. We're going to go down here to PC, and we're going to right click and hit Map Network Drive. And once we do this, we just simply type in we're going to do //192 or our IP address for our thing. So in my case, 192.168.1.84. And then we're going to hit Browse. And then we can select the folder we want to see. So I'm just going to do current project videos because I want to make sure I can show you that I can access the files. So we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to hit Finish. Typically, it's probably going to ask you to sign in. I've already done this. Again, just simply input your username and password, and you'll be good to go. But here we are. We've got our files. We can simply open them up. It's like, again, like a screen recording from earlier whenever we were setting up the Synology Assistant. Just give some time to load. We are limited right now with the speeds over the Wi-Fi connection. It seems to play pretty well. All right, guys, so I want to do a quick speed test with how fast it can transfer a certain amount of, like a certain size file. just to see how usable 1 gig is. And you know, obviously in the future, I do want to upgrade to 10 gig, but really to see how viable it is. But yeah, so let's go ahead and we're going to, let's just do a 4 gigabyte one, 4.33 actually. And then we're gonna go back to it. And as you can see down here, we're using Wi-Fi. It's gonna be, you know, over Wi-Fi speeds, and we're actually going to turn our activity monitor on just so we can see the disk read and write while we do this. Move this up here. All right, so let's go ahead and go into test, and we're just going to hit Command V and hit start. All right, and then we're just going to see just how long it takes for it to transfer. All right, guys, so after that, we actually got 1 minute and 17 seconds to transfer a 4 gigabyte file over Wi-Fi to our NAS, which is honestly pretty reasonable. I could film a video, simply take it, upload it to the NAS, go do something real quick, come back, and it's uploaded. So let's go ahead and delete this. And I actually want to do the same thing, but I want to do it over Ethernet. So, you know, the great thing about NAS is that you're supposed to have access to faster speeds over an Ethernet connection. So I got an adapter with the 1 gig Ethernet connection because that's all we have right now. And I do want to upgrade it in the future, but we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to make sure that it notices that we are on Ethernet. Once this loads right here, we're simply going to go back, go to test, and hit Command V and hit start. So we'll get back to the results. Okay, so we got the exact same time. I'm going to make sure I turn off my Wi-Fi and connect it via Ethernet again, just because I don't really know if that is using the Ethernet connection or we're just actually limited by the 1 gig speeds of the NAS. All right, so we are connected via Ethernet no matter what. Wi-Fi is turned off in the top right. We'll simply go back in the test. Let's reset this and V and hit start. All right, so we actually was able to cut down our time almost basically in half. We got 37 seconds, 37 and a half seconds to transfer the same file that was taking 1 minute and 17 previously. So I don't know why it's defaulting to Wi-Fi if I have the Ethernet plugged in. So I'm gonna look up a fix for you guys for that real quick because I want to fix it myself. And I'll get back to you here shortly. All right, guys, after some deep diving into what really might be causing these issues, it seems to be like an ongoing thing no matter what the operating system is. As you know, obviously looking through Reddit, you know, people that make posts, and I found an interesting one. It's just the service order will only work for new connections. So like we set up Wi-Fi in the beginning, it's going to automatically default to Wi-Fi unless you kind of just forget it and then just plug it in and do it that way. So a simple solution is really just turn off the Wi-Fi. And if you turn off the Wi-Fi and then turn it back on after you've noticed that it's connected via Ethernet, it will prioritize the Ethernet. And I can show that real quick now. All right, as you see, we're connected via no Wi-Fi at all. So we're simply just going to go into our test, hit paste and hit start. And then as you'll see down here, we have a constant 131 megabytes a second, and it may drop or, you know, go above below, but it's got a pretty consistent 130. And obviously it takes about what, 30 seconds for us to transfer this 4 gigabyte file, which honestly is even better. Even with a 1 gig connection, that's actually still really good. Once this is done, we're going to turn on the Wi-Fi and retest and just show you guys that it's really just going to prioritize what was plugged in first. So we can go ahead and delete this. Let's move it to trash, and let's go up here, turn our Wi-Fi on. And once that connects, I'll show you guys. I'm gonna go back to here, let it load, go back into our test, hit Command V, hit start, and just show you that we're going to get that same 130 consistent speed the whole time. So I mean, it kind of sucks that that's kind of the issue, but honestly it's not a big deal. It's literally just hit a button, letting it load, turn it back on. I mean, pretty simple in my opinion. But yeah, for speeds, like I said. All right guys, so in terms of theoretical speeds of like 1 gig, 2.5, 5, and 10, as well as some of your Wi-Fi speeds such as your upload and download, and how they can actually affect your decision on what you should actually upgrade to, or even if you need to upgrade, that will be covered in the next video when I actually upgrade my NAS to 10 gig. And actually I'm going to test all the adapters and really just see what's best for my use case, and do I really need 10 gig, or is that just something I want for some of the future projects? So definitely stay tuned for that, and be on the lookout for that video if that's something that interests you. And with that, hopefully I'll see you. But I'm really excited to see how fast we can transfer some of these things over a 10 gig connection, maybe a 2.5, maybe even a 5, just to see exactly how much you need as a user. Should you invest, in those expensive connect or adapters or not? But again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and I've given you some insight on how to get started on one of these. And stay tuned for the upcoming videos in this series. And if you feel like it, make sure you hit a comment or comment something, anything. If you have any questions, hit that like button and obviously sub if you want more. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.